would know how to use LaTeX already for preparing a full-fledged document. So we are going to go through this very fast. We begin with exercise 3, where exercise 3 is talking about symbolic referencing. So the code that produces the symbolic referencing is just simply this. Like exercise 3, you just double click on this. So this reproduce me 3 is the not this one. Yeah. Okay, so this reproduce me 3 is the source code that produce the symbolic referencing, right? So I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I'm going to show you, just demonstrate to you very quickly, hopefully within say 5 to 10 minutes, of the important features that you should know to create a symbolic referencing to the particular sections, and probably also how you do a footnote. It was just a very straightforward demonstration. So to do a demonstration, what you do is first, let me prepare a simple template document. So you have, you can just cut and paste from exercise 1.1. So let us try to do it. You just can follow me, right? So you take this exercise 1.1. Then you just create and document a copy of exercise 1.1, just rename it to something else. So for example, I just use the exercise 1.1 as a template, and then I'll rename it as something else, say as working, working whatever, working template. Right? I need a blank template so that I can use it to show you how to edit this template file and produce a say the template, the symbolic referencing. So I'm going to use this working template, which is nothing but just the exercise 1.1 to do this, right? So I am now opening my working template, but before that, let me close all the unnecessary text file that has been opened. Okay, so this is the working template file. This is reproduce me 7. So let me try to switch this off. So I just need a file. This is the original working template from exercise 1.1. I compile it, then I get this as my output, right? So this output contain sections 1.1. So I'm going to start working on this. So let us see how we do it, right? So these are the basic front matter or the top end matter that produce the title, abstract, and section. So maybe I should make this larger so that you can see what I'm typing. So this is the first sections. Maybe I just change the name of Hello World to say introductions, and then I call this section number 1. Well, maybe you don't need to label the section introduction as 1 introduction. Just let the LaTeX to do it. So then let me create another section called methodology, just as example, methodology. Then this is the subsections. So I call this subsection in methodology. So I just want to prepare all these basic ingredients so that I can use it as a demonstration. So probably I also want to create another subsection for subsection in introduction, and then this will be the content of the subsection, methodology, sorry, the subsection for introductions. Let me create another content for subsection methodology. So this is the body text for the methodology section. Okay, so before I do anything, just let me compile this. So you expect to see there'll be one section created. In the section of introduction, it will create a subsections under introduction. Then you create another section, which is a major section, and also a subsection under methodology. So in this way, you would label, well, the LaTeX will label the section introduction as number as one. Then you would expect this to be labeled 1.1. Methodology section methodology will be labeled 2. Then subsection would be labeled as 2.1. If everything goes correct, then you should see the output presented on the screen as expected, right? So this is what you expect to see in introduction, subsection, methodology, and subsection. So you don't need to label the number yourself. So let us try to make a referencing. So I'm going to type here in a new line. I am going to make symbolic referencing to say the subsection of 1.1. So let me refer to 1.1, which is this subsection. So this is supposed to be a labeling. Subsection is labeled with the number of 1.1. So in order to refer to the subsections in introduction, I'm going to make, so let me type it here. I'm going to make symbolic referencing to the subsection in introduction, which has the number, which is labeled, okay, which is labeled with 1.1, right? So this is just a manual referencing, because when I compile, I know that the subsection 1.1 subsection in introductions has a label of 1.1. So when I type in the, if I want to refer to section 1.1 with the title subsection in introduction, I just type in the equation number 1.1 manually. But I can do a better job by making a reference. For example, here, this is a section I want to refer to. So what I do is that I give it a label. I label it with a slash label with a curly bracket. Then I give it a name that I want to label. Whatever you call it, say subsection in intro. Okay, so that would be just any symbol that I create myself. So I'll just simply create this as SI intro. SI here stand for subsection in introduction. So this is a name I create. Then this label SI intro is actually referring to the number of 1.1, right? So if I need to refer to the numbering of the subsection in introduction, which is 1.1, I can just type this label. This will be replacing 1.1, right? So with number, ref with a curly bracket, with label with reference number. So instead of typing it 1.1 manually, I'm going to replace this by ref with a curly bracket, the label that I invented. So when I press the button, this /ref si intro should be then equals to the number that appears for this subsection, which is 1.1. Okay, let's see if it works correctly. Hopefully that it is. Okay, so I should see a number appearing here, 1.1. Right, so the number 1.1 here appears automatically. So this is a subsection of 1.1. So maybe just let me make the statements more explicit. I am making a symbolic referencing to the subsection which has the name of subsection in introductions, which is labeled with reference number, this one. So it's the same thing, just that I am making the statements to be more explicit. I am making a symbolic referencing to the subsection in introduction, which is labeled with reference number 11. Right. So if you want to refer to, say, methodology, which is the subsection number 2, anywhere in the text, let us try to make a referencing here. So example of making a symbolic reference to the section which is introduction, which has a label. So the label is 1. So instead of typing 1, let me cite the label for reference 1. So what do you want to label for reference 1? So the reference 1, the introductions, if you want to label, if you want to refer to it, just give it a label. So just go to the line that label the section of introduction, a label. Just give it a name, intro, for example. So this intro would then be used as the reference text here. So this line will print out a statement, example of making a symbolic reference to the subsection introductions, which has a label 1. So when I press the button, then you can see the text appearing that has this. Right? So this is the result of this symbolic referencing. So the idea here is you labeled and sections with a name, then you can just refer to the number of your label anywhere by using /ref. So here, this is label number 1, and here is label 1.1 referring to the subsection. So the story is, well, the moral of this story is you can always label any section or subsection in your articles. And in order to refer to the number of that subsections, you don't need to type in 1.1, 2.1. You just label the subsection or the section, then the numbers of the reference can be just cited by using reference and followed by the name. So that is called symbolic referencing, or I call it symbolic referencing. The other way of making an example of symbolic referencing is to let's make an footnote. So the footnote is a footnote that has a label, and then you can make some statements of footnote that appears in the bottom of a page. And the footnote may appear to be more than one. So let us make a footnote. So how do you make a footnote? You just, again, I think say this footnote, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a footnote, then you create the content in the footnote. So let's see if this is true. I'm not sure if footnote is the correct way to do it. Okay, let me check if this is true. So that is what I think it would give you a footnote by just typing in this command /footnote opened with a curly bracket. Then whatever you want as a content to the footnote, then you just type it in here. So this is the content of the footnote of the first footnote. So I'll click and see if it compile. I just feel that maybe I have forgotten exactly if footnote is the correct command line. So I think it is correct. If it's wrong, then it will give you a warning when it compile. So here is, let's make a footnote. The footnote here has a label 1. The 1 appears automatically. You don't need to label the numbers of footnote, but the number of the footnote is automatically labeled, and the content of the footnote, which is this is the content of the first footnote, is actually appearing here, right? So you can try to appear and try to create. Let's make a second footnote. So this is the content of the second footnote. So this would create another footnote, which will be automatically labeled as footnote number 2. So you compile it, I should see another line of let's make a footnote in the LaTeX. So this appeared as the second footnote, and the second footnote appears here. This is the content of the second footnote. So the good thing is that when you make this footnote, the numbering of the footnote is generated automatically. So that is basically what the reproduce me tree is doing, right? So this is just the exercise tree. So when you compile it, that is basically what you get. Okay, so that finish the exercise for making a symbolic referencing. Okay, so I'm just doing it again. So that finished the exercise 3. Exercise 4, we do it very fast. Exercise 4 is about including figure. Okay, so exercise 4 looks something like this. Try to, yeah, so this is the exercise 4, reproduce me 4. So basically what you want is to include an figure. Then the figure should have a numbering. So usually the figure that appears first would be labeled as figure 1. And if you include another figure, you automatically label figure 2. If you include the third figure somewhere at the back of the text, it will be labeled figure 3 automatically. But you have to put the figure in the directory where the LaTeX can find it. So let me go to exercise 4. So you see there are 2 figures. So the figures, one of it is called Doraemon PNG. I think it's called JPEG. So this is Doraemon JPG sitting in exercise 4. So now I'm going to show you how you include the figure in Doraemon, how you show the figure of Doraemon 4 in the LaTeX. Okay, so this again is the one that I'm working in. Okay, so here. Now, how do you include a figure? So to include a figure, let me go to here. Okay, let me create a section, a new section, say figure. So I'm going to show you and demonstrate to you how figure is included in the new section. So here, so to include a figure, you just have to use a command called include figure. If you ask me what is a command, I'm sorry, I can't remember it. I have to refer to the text and then cut and paste from the text. So this is the, let me call out the reproduce me. Okay. So this is the reproduce me original text, which is only for figure or 3. So now I'm looking for the reproduce me 4. So I should go to here, just simply open this one. Okay, so the way how you include the figure is just like this. Just need to cut and paste the whole command here. That's it. So let me cut and paste this command and put it into my working template. So my working template is this one, and I'm going to do it here. So paste this command from exercise 4. So the important features is this: you begin your figure and end a figure. Then you have to specify the options of the figure where you want to place your figure. So HTBE, it means this. It will first try to place the figure here. That is at the location where the begin figure and figure appears. Sometimes it will fail because maybe the figure is too large to be placed here. There's not enough space to place a figure. Then it will go to the second option, that is put it on the top of the page. Whether it's in the present page or the next page, I'm not sure, but the figure would be appearing in the top of the page. Or if it fails, then it will go to a new page, where in that page, I think probably is at the end of the document. Everything when the document finish, then the last and then the page after the whole document would be an empty page where the figure would appear independently in that particular. So if you have 5 figures, you have 5 different pages. Each of the page contain the figure that appears and appended to the end of the document. And lastly, if everything fails, it will try to put it at the bottom of it. So let's say you can try to change this. You can try to change it to put it at the bottom of a page. And if it fails, then you could put it at the top. If not, then you put it here. And then, or if everything fails, you put it in a new page. So usually, I think what people do is normally you put it at the top. And then followed by H and then or B, right? So this is to specify the positions where the figure should appear. And you want the figure to be appearing in the middle of a page, right? So you don't want the figure to be, say, appearing on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. So you have to centerize it. So you have to include and centering. That is, the include figure is the one that is really working. That is the one that is going to insert the figures. So the include figures command is the one that does the figure inclusion. Every figure has an option of citing and caption, right? So you have a caption that should appear in a curly bracket. Then the label of the figure is also optional. So if you label the figure, you can then refer to the figure. So the number of, say, Doraemon is referred to figure number what? Figure. So the name of the figure, well, the number of the figure can be just cited to be just a reference of FIG Doraemon. I think that is how you would cite the number of figure that refers to Doraemon. Okay, so if I compile this, I should expect to see the Doraemon figure to appear in the current directory. So now I am making the directory, I'm working in a directory, I have to go to that. So the directory I'm working now is this one, working template. Right, my working template is this one. So this is my working template. It is sitting here in this directory. And when I compile, you would not be able to see the figure of Doraemon. Okay, for the very simple reasons that it would not find the figure, because I'm telling LaTeX include the Doraemon figure here in the current directory. So when you compile, you will get into trouble. You say, no, I cannot find the Doraemon.jpg, which is to say. So he said he has a problem of finding the Doraemon JPEG. So either you specify more accurately where the Doraemon JPEG is, so you could specify the path or the full path where the figure is referred to. So this is sitting in my hard disk, which has a full path which is very, very far away. It's a C user online on OneDrive, Universiti Malaysia, LaTeX 2002 working, blah, blah, blah. So the easiest way is to just copy the figure and place it here. So the figure is sitting in X. So this is the figure. So I might as well copy the other figure. Just cut and I just copy the figure and place it in the current directory. So now Doraemon is the figure that I'm going to include in the LaTeX and is sitting in the same directory as working template, which is the LaTeX source document I am currently working with. Right. So when I click the button, I expect the LaTeX should not complain of not finding the Doraemon. Right. So let me compile again. So do I get, yeah, so now you have a figure, and this is figure number 1. So the labeling of figure number 1 is clearly stated. So this is the symbolic referencing to the numbers of figure, which is 1 in here. Okay, so I've just demonstrated to you how you include a figure and how you label the reference to the figure and the caption. So you may want to include another figure. So you may include another figure, say this is another figure. The figure that I'm going to include is Doraemon's sister. I think it's called Dorami. I'm not sure, I think it's called Doremi. Okay, let me call it the Doremi. So I'm going to refer this as the Doremi. So change the label for Doremi and also change the name of the file I'm going to refer to. So the picture file for Doremi is this one, Doraemon Doraemi. Okay, so it's Dorami. So the file name is should be Dorami. Okay, so Dorami. Okay, so this is the picture of Dorami. So that's it. So when I compile it, I expect to see Doraemon in figure 1, Dorami in figure 2. And then it should work. So this is figure 1. And where is figure 2? So figure 2 is here. So Dorami is huge, right? So why is it so? Because I think originally the size of Dorami that I use is much larger than the original size of Doraemon. So you can click on this file and view it using your viewer. So this is the original Dorami figure. Um, then you can also see how the Doraemon figure looks like originally. This is the Doraemon figure. It's 4 kilobytes, so it's much smaller. So Dorami is a large file. I mean, the actual size of the Dorami JPEG is large. Doraemon file is very small. So when you say nothing and you compile and um, compile the figure in LaTeX, let me call out the LaTeX file. Okay, so when you say nothing, so this figure will be just displayed using the size that the LaTeX decide for itself. And probably it's going to use a size that is the same as the original size. So the Dorami is a very large file. So when it's displayed in the LaTeX, it appears to be very large, right? So in order to fix the problem, we need to fix the size of the figure. You want to say specify the size of a figure in LaTeX, and this is perfectly possible. So how do you fix the size of a figure? There are two ways. Either you specify, say, the figure should have a height of, say, 4 cm or have the width of, say, 1 cm. So you can specify the size in terms of the absolute measure in terms of cm or inch or point. But usually what is done is that you specify the size of the figure using what we call the relative size in terms of the text width. Okay, so let me call out the exercise 4. I think here reproduce me for A and 4B, probably 4B, right? So 4B has a sample code that tells you how you can control the size of the figure. So this is 4B. So the idea is quite simple. You can change the size of the figure by specifying the width and height with an absolute number of 3 cm times 4 cm. But I think the better way usually to do it is to use the relative text. So you go to reproduce me for A. That is an sample file of showing how you could edit the size of the file using text, right? So here you specify the width in terms of the ratio to the total width. Okay, so let me do it. So let me cut out this as the options in the include figure and go back to my working template. So in this working template, as I mentioned, when I compile it, you get a large Doraemon size. Where it is, I think here. So anyway, let me compile it again, just to recover the oversized Dorami. So the size of Dorami is very large, and the size of Doraemon is okay, I think. So let us try to make the size of Dorami to become smaller. How small you want it? For example, you say make the size of the Dorami picture to be just half the width of the text width. So the text width is this, right? So the text is from somewhere on the left to somewhere on the right. So this is the width of the text from somewhere here to somewhere here. So the width of the text is actually specified by the preamble here. I think it's 390 point. So I'm not sure exactly, but I think 390 point is somewhere of the width from, if you have a page, is from somewhere to somewhere. So I do not know exactly how to measure the point. Maybe 1 point or 10 point corresponds to how many cm. So the text width is referring to how width the page is. So we are going to say Doremi's picture is to be included with an option of having a width which is just half the size of the text width. So that would automatically make the file to give me a Doremi which is just half the size, or in. So let me compile, and I want to see the results is an picture of Doremi which is just half the size of the page, which is this, right? So this is the way how you can control the size of the figure. If you want to control the height, you can by just referring to this very simple example. Here in exercise reproduce me 4a. So in exercise reproduce me 4a, it shows you how to control the size in terms of width, whereas in exercise 4b, I'm not sure, I think which one is which. Exercise 4b, exercise 4b, it also shows you how to control the height and size of a figure by specifying the height and width in terms of cm. So maybe let us demonstrate this on Doraemon picture. So we have specified that Doremi picture is half the width. So if you want to control the size of Doraemon picture, then let's make it, say, to be larger. Say instead of 3 cm in width, make it 5 cm in width, and height is, say, 6 cm in width. So we have changed the size of the Doraemon picture. When you compile it, we'll see a Doraemon picture to be of different size. So it becomes a bit larger and it becomes a bit wider as well. You can distort the ratio. Say, for example, you want to make Doraemon very, very fat, then you just make it to be, say, 10 cm or 9 cm in width. So in that sense, the width would be increased, then the picture would be distorted, right? So you don't want this. You usually want to maintain the ratio. So that means to specify the Doraemon or a picture with an explicit width and height is not really recommended, because this would distort, this may distort the ratio of the picture. So usually what you do is that you just scale either the width or the height. And if you just scale it with the width like this, I think it will scale it without distorting, but I'm not really sure about that. Okay, so until this stage, we have seen how you include two figures. You can also merge two figures in one. So say, for example, you merge these two figures, Doraemon figure, to be included together with Doraemon, right? So you just include it within the same figure. So if you do like that, what do you expect? You expect two figures to be produced side by side. So when you compile this, I'll see a distorted Doraemon placed side by side with an Doremi, which is, no, it's not side by side. Because if the width is just too large, it could not display side by side, because there's not enough space to accommodate two figures which are just simply larger than the text width. But if I were to make this width to become normal, right? So just use the ordinary size of Doraemon. Probably there will be enough space to accommodate two figures in the same row, in this sense. So that would include the Doraemon and Doremi in the same figure, where they are just placed side by side. So this happens only if the sum of the width of two figures do not exceed the size of the web page. If is exceeding to the size of the page, then it would just automatically make the figure to not place on the same row. But you can actually make it to explicitly go to the next line. So say if you take this, remember this one, this says go to the next line. So if you do not have this, then two figures will be placed side by side. If you explicitly say go to the next line when you place the do re mi figure, so that will produce two figures that is stacked vertically, right? So you can control whether you want to have the figure placed side by side or one after another by using the double slash command. You can control the size of the figure by using width and height. So that finished the inclusion of figure. Then let us go to the next bit, which is on number 6. Number 6 is, sorry, we are down in number 4. Okay, number 4 is the figure. Now we go to number 5. Number 5 is to do what? I think this is number 4, number 5. Let me look at number 5. Okay, number 5 is to show you how to cite, make citation, cite a reference. Now, citing a reference can be a little bit lengthy, but basically this is what you do. The simplest thing to do is to prepare the reference inside the LaTeX source document explicitly. So you just prepare the content of the first reference and the second reference and put it in the bibliography. Then you can begin citing it. So let me show you how you can do that. If you want to do how to see how this is done, you just refer to the original source code for reproduce me 5. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to show you how you do the referencing in this working document. Okay, so what you did is first you have to prepare a bibliography section, I think called /bibliography. I think that is what it should be. Then you have to prepare the bibliography item. I think item, the first item, the second item, right? So this is basically what it should look like. So this is a bibliography section. So this bibliography section is very similar to section or subsection. So inside this bibliography, you just enter all the reference you want. But before I continue, I want to be sure that I'm doing the thing correctly. Okay, so let me go and check if my syntax is correct. Sometimes I forget the syntax, so it's better for me to check first before I do anything wrong. Okay. Okay, so that is the syntax for making an bibliography. Yeah, I think that is what it is. So you begin the bibliography and end the bibliography. Then each bibliography has to be included by using bib item. Okay, so this is the way how you do it. So let me demo to you how you do it. Okay, so fortunately I don't follow this one. So the correct way is just first you create a begin bibliography, and then you have to end the bibliography. The bibliography. So if you're using the TeXworks, I think it doesn't help you to correct your typo. So if you are prone to making typo error, then you will be like me, will constantly have to correct your typo manually. But if the editor can do the corrections for you automatically, it would be easier. And you have to include this 9999, meaning that the maximum numbers of bibliography that could be included number up to 999. But usually in a reference bibliography, you don't have more than a few tens or 20, right? Okay, so then you create your first biblio item, right? I think called bib item. So the bib item number one, so the bib item has this thing, right? So the bib item number one is say, okay, let me explain again what should goes into the bib item. So the bib item should have a reference by default and also the content. Okay, let me explain to you again what is it. So the first bib item is the name you want to give or the label you want to give to this bib item. Say the first item you want to say is say paper, right? Author 1, paper 1. Okay. And then you label this paper 1, author 1 as say P1. Then you create another item for your second paper, say author 2 and paper 2. Then you label this reference item as P2 in your bibliography. So that ends the creations of the bibliography sections in the LaTeX. Once you have finished preparing your bibliography sections, then you can cite it from within the text. Say I want to cite here, okay? So I say, let me put it here. I want to cite reference number 1 or number 2. So how do you cite it? You just cite it by saying CITE followed by curly bracket and then the label of the paper P1. So that would refer to the citations that you have created, and the content will be just an paper 1 author 1. Then you can cite again elsewhere, say here after the Doraemon picture. So you could say I'm citing the reference number P2, right? So this, if everything done correctly, you should see the reference item to appear and also the numbering of that bibliography item. So there's something wrong with this. The bibliography, so I am in trouble. It seems that the bibliography doesn't looks correct. Bib item, yeah, I think the problem is that I think should we call bib item. Let me check again the spelling. Bib item, the bibliography, begin bibliography. It seems it is all correct. So I do not know what's the problem. Maybe you can help me to identify what is the problem. Bib item, the bibliography, begin the bibliography, and the bibliography. Okay, let me try to compile it again. Okay, so what is the problem in the bibliography? Okay, so that is another example of trouble in LaTeX. Yeah. The error, what error? The last one. Okay, the bibliography. Now this is considered an fortunate error, right? The error is explicit and is obviously my typo. The more difficult question problem would be you compile and you thought everything is correct. You cannot find the source, but the compilation just failed. That is the worst nightmare you could have. I think I have that experience, very bad experience of troubleshooting the whole day to find out there's some stupid error that I make. So now I've created the bibliography item 1 and 2. You can see that the bibliography appears here, right? It appears after the reference, right? The reference is actually the bibliography. Let me move it here so that we can compare these things side by side. Okay, not this one. We compile it again. Okay, so that is easier. So the reference is the result of the bibliography. Here, author 1, paper 1 appeared here, author 2, paper. So you have to prepare this item explicitly yourself. So you have to cut and paste all the paper you want to refer manually. Then if you are referring to reference number 2, this is author 2, right? So this line, I want to cite reference number 2 is here. So you just cite the paper number 2 by referring to P2. In the earlier part, I'm citing reference number 1. So here you cite reference number 1 by citing the label of P1. So it should be clear to you how you can make a very simple bibliography referencing system in a LaTeX document. The problem is that you have to prepare the bibliography item manually, right? So there are many ways how you can do this. So the examples that I show here, where this is, yeah. So here I have to cut and paste this item, the name of the title, the name of the journals, the volumes, page, and the year of the volume. And I have to find this item, prepare it, and then paste it here. Right? This is the first way of doing an index bibliography. But this is not a good way. The better way would be to use a more systematic method. So this is done in reproduce me 5a, which is another way, which is usually the better way of producing a reference. Okay, so this is, let me close some of this item. It is actually causing a lot of confusions in my site here. Maybe let me close this. Okay, hopefully that, where am I? Okay, so for 5a, the correct way of doing the reference, if you have a lot of reference, say you want to cite many paper, so this is how I make the citation, right? So I am citing many paper, number 1, paper number 2, paper number 3, and these are all the items, the bibliography items. Now, do I prepare all these bibliography items myself? The answer is no. So what I do is I use this syntax. So I said bibliography is not the bibliography, but bibliography with a curly bracket that refers to a name of a file. Okay, this is the name of a bibliography file that I keep. And after I have specified my bibliography file, I have to also tell LaTeX what are the citation style. So USM, for example, requires you to make citation based on don't know what Canadian style, Cambridge style, number style, whatever style. So there are many different ways how you can make citations. So say for example, in this particular example, so you cite it by saying the name of the author, followed by the name of the journal, the volume of the journal, page of the journal, year, and the DOI and URL. Then some paper requires you to include the DOI, some paper requires you to also include the URL. And some paper requires you to specify the reference not in terms of number, but just the name of the author and the year. So that is a style. I think it's called Harvard style or whatever. I'm not very sure about that. But you can always change the style by just changing here. So there are many styles that is available in the LaTeX resource. Here I'm using an example of SP Physics. I'm not sure what is this. I think this is like the physical American Physics Society style. So American Physics Society runs its own set of journals and have its own requirement for the style. and then this is another style which I do not know what it is. I think this is a basic style. Then say Elsevier has its own citation style. So if you want the Harvard citation style, you just go and find out the Harvard citation style from the style file in LaTeX resource. Then by just specifying what are the bibliography style using the right style from the LaTeX, then the reference will appear in the format of that style for the reference. So that's how you can keep on changing from this style, this reference style to that reference style. So the point here is, in order to make this kind of reference, you just have to specify what is your bibliography file and the style. So let me cut and paste this into the working directory, into the working file that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm looking at working template. So this is a working template. Here I am making the reference using this kind of the bibliography method, which is a very primitive way of making the reference. So let me try to not use this method, but let me try to use the bibliography method, which is more advanced method. So let me just take off the citations for the moment and take off the other citations at the moment so that I don't cite it here yet. So here I am including my bibliography file name. Now, what is my bibliography? So this is referring, as I mentioned, a bibliography file that I keep. I'm keeping the bibliography file here. You can look at it by opening it using your editor. Any editor will be fine, your textbook editor, your notepad. So these are the content of the my bibliography file. It is saved as .bib, and these are all the items of the reference paper that I need. I collect this .bib file myself manually. So there are many files, many paper that has been included. So in the bibliography file, it has, say, for example, first the articles of the bibliography has a reference name. So if I need to cite this paper, I just have to cite GOH2012 molecular. That would refer to this. And then the content of this paper has a title, the name of the author, the name of the journal, the volume, page, year, and the publisher. Other bibliography item, say these articles, geometrical and electrical properties of neutral, blah, blah, blah. It's cited, this item has a reference of basu.jcp06. So usually you named the items in your bibliography file in a systematic manner. So usually what I do is that I mentioned, I cite it, I label it with the first author name, followed by the journal short form and the year. And in this particular bibliography items, it also give me the URL. It also give me an DOI, whereas other articles like the one I shown you has no URL information, or it doesn't have an DOI information. So anyway, I can just cite this. So let me try to cite this paper. Okay, let me try to cite GOR 2012 molecular paper in the bibliography file. But before I do that, I have to make sure that when I compile my LaTeX document, when I say go to bibliography with a file name my bibliography.bib, I have to make sure that the LaTeX can find the file. If it cannot find the file, then it will complain like mad. So I have to copy this sample bibliography file into the working directory. So this is a working directory I'm working in here, right? I just mentioned to you, I'm working on this file, and I've just copied the bibliography documents into here. So where is my bibliography document? The name of my bibliography document is okay, not yet. I couldn't find my bibliography. Let me go back and check again. So this is my bibliography. I'll copy and then I'll paste it here. Okay, so now my bibliography file is appearing in the same directory as the file that I'm working at. So the file I'm looking at is this working template. So so when I press the button, the source code should be able to identify this bibliography file. And if I want to cite a particular item in my bibliography file, which is this one, so let me cut and paste the name of these articles. It's not article, it's just a reference name that I create myself when I prepare this my bibliography.bib. Then let me paste it here. So I'm going to make a reference to saying Gauss paper. So Gauss paper, when I want to cite it, I just say cite with a curly bracket followed by the name of the label. So the name of the label is Gore 2012 molecular. So that should be able to produce a citation to this paper together with all the details of the bibliography item in my working document. So it is appearing, no, yes, no, no, there is not. There is some problem with this. It says when it compile, it complains that it cannot find this thing called SP physics. So I am including in the instructions of the compilation for the LaTeX source. Say I want to use SPP physics style. And then you say, no, I can't find the style file. So the reason is because for different types of style files, sometimes it will find it automatically, and most of the time it couldn't. So when I copy my bibliography file here, I forget to copy the style file. This is a style file called BST. So I should copy the style file, which I found from online. So any style file that you need, you can always find it online. So I just cut and paste the style file into the current working directory. So when I compile my LaTeX, it should not complain that it couldn't find this SP physics style file. So let us try again. When you do it, you find that you have to download a lot of packages before you can successfully compile the reference. So now I am making a compilation successfully. So I see that there is this, I want to cite reference number Gauss paper. So this is the Gauss paper 1. So it appears here as 1. Then where does it find this reference? It finds this reference from the bibliography file, which is this one. So if you want to say cite another paper, which is, don't know what is it. Let me cite this mode paper. Right, so the mode paper WS96. So I just remember the name of this paper. Not paper, it's a book. Maybe not a book. Maybe let me copy this one. Cite this paper, motet. So I want to cite motet paper. So how easy you can do it, right? So let me cite somewhere. I want to cite reference motet. So which is in reference number cite this. So that should cite the motet reference automatically. So press a button, it would go into the my bibliography file.bib, and find this particular item, which is appearing in PRL 05. This is the one. What it doesn't show, isn't it? It has only one reference. Instead of showing two references, it shows only one reference. So, so I'm citing, I am referring to, okay, this one. So let me see it more clearly. Is this the one? Okay, so now it has a little bit of problem. I'm citing Motet. So this is the code that I include to cite Motet. I want to cite Motet. So it appears here, but the citation does not come out correct. It gives me a question mark, which is referring to the reference number. Right? It doesn't give me the right reference number. And also in the bibliography item, there's only one item instead of two. I'm citing two citations. I should see two items appear in the reference, but when I compile it, it gives me only one, and this number does not come out correct, and it gives me this. So what should you do? This is very common. When you make citation for the first time, it always gives you trouble. So usually when you compile it for the second time, it should appear. Now, if I compile for the second time, it doesn't appear correctly, then I'll be in trouble. Then you have to do a lot of troubleshooting. It doesn't come out correct, although things seems to be correctly done. So again, the reference appeared only once. There's no second reference, so there's only one. So now I'm in trouble. So what should I do? Then I also don't know what to do. Okay, so this is usually what I do. Okay, you bib tag. Maybe it's because the bib tag is a compilation of the bibliography item from the bibliography file. So maybe that part does not come out right. So maybe you just compile the bib tag just to prepare the bibliography item. After that, only then you go back and compile again the LaTeX file again, and hopefully that it will fix the trouble. Fix? No, it doesn't fix. No, it doesn't fix the trouble. Okay, so it doesn't fix the trouble. Yeah, so I do not know what to do. Okay, so let me try. If I fail, then I'll just give up. Okay, so I just close this, and I just close this. I just close everything, and begin again from scratch. So I close all the files, save this, and compile again. Right. So, but before I compile again, I would actually want to clean away some of the file that may be causing the problem. So I'm working with working template here, and let me see what are the file that is involved. So this is the working file, the PDF file that's produced by working template with template syntax. So this is a temporary file that would appear when you compile the LaTeX. So I'm not sure what happened, but I'll just delete these two and work from scratch. And hopefully that when I compile again, my file here, everything will come back correctly. Okay, so let's pray it works. And this is usually what I do, right? Okay, so do I see any correct reference? No, I think it's still not correctly referred to. Only one is correctly referred, but I should be able to find what is the error, right? So it doesn't give me the right reference number for the mod paper. Okay, so what I should do now is that let me try to, oh, yeah, I think I have found the reasons. It is an stupid error. The correct way of making the reference is /reference follow directly with the curly bracket and the name of that. So just now I was doing this with a dot. It's causing all this trouble. So it is not that the LaTeX is causing trouble. It is me myself that is causing all the trouble. I always make this stupid mistake. And I think this time it should work. I should be able to see two reference and two bibliography item to appear correctly. So I am looking for mode here. Now it's better because it is a double questions, and I should know what is it. It still have a problem. I thought it's already fixed. Yeah, it should be site. Oh yeah, it's a very stupid question. It's a very stupid error. It should not be reference, right? It should be site. Reference is referring to the symbolic referencing. When I cite, I should say cite the reference. So that is the confusion I have. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay, so again, it is not the problem of LaTeX. As I mentioned, it is my problem. I admit that. Okay, I always make confusion between citing the symbolic referencing within the text and the bibliography item. Now it's cited correctly. Okay, so that is how you do it, to do the citation. Now, I would like to spend a little bit of time telling you how to prepare the citations. Okay, so preparing the citations using BibTeX can be is an alternative. It could be easy, it could be difficult. It depends on how you do it. So I'm just telling you how you can prepare a LaTeX, a bibliography text. So usually people use JabRef as a software that help them to manage their bibliography item. But JabRef is alternative, is optional. You can use JabRef or you don't, right? But the important thing is how do you prepare this file, which is the bibliography item, which contain a few thousand items, right? So if you install JabRef, do I have it here? Yeah, JabRef. Okay, let me install this. So you download and install the JabRef. It is not a very big, I think it's not a very big program, but it will help you to manage your bibliography item. For example, it will help you to find the author, to find what kind of articles, what year, but again, it's optional, okay? So let's do it. Okay, so while waiting for the JabRef to be installed, okay, I think it's finished already, right? So JabRef, is it already installed? So let me see if it's already JabRef. Yeah, it's already installed. Then you just open the JabRef. I'm going to use JabRef and open it, and then use JabRef to display the bibliography file that I just created. So I have a bibliography file I mentioned to you. I'm going to the directory where the JabRef file is sitting, LaTeX 2002. In this working, and this is my bibliography file. So you open it, then you can see there are many items appearing here with the author, title, and also the reference. Okay, so I think you have also a display of the reference. So let's say you click on this paper, then it shows you all the details of the paper. The author, I think most importantly, I think is the reference that you label. So I'm looking for the label for these files. Yeah, the label is link ASS13. I'm not sure if you can see, but this is the link ASS13. So you can refer to this item of the bibliography either using JabRef or you can refer to this file that you read with ordinary editor, and then this is just the item called link. Right? The same item, either you view it using ordinary text editor or you use JabRef. Either one will be just fine. So JabRef is just to help you to manage your bibliography item in a more convenient manner. Right? So where do I get this bibliography bit file? There are a few thousand items, I think about 555 items. I built this bibliography based data set myself one by one. Okay, I go and download it and then keep it. So the process of building the bibliography item actually could be quite easy, especially this day. So these are the instructions or advice how you do it. The easiest way is to use Google Scholar, right? So you use Google Scholar, you just type in Google Scholar the articles that you want to keep in your bibliography item. Then when you do that, then you will be able to get your bibliography item quite easily just by click. Then you download the articles item, then you just cut and paste into the JabRef. So let me show you how to do that. Just the demonstrations. Say I go to Google Scholar. Let me try to find some articles, say my own articles, say TL Yoon. So do I have articles? This is not my articles. Don't know what is my article. Okay, maybe this article. Effects of Harvard, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So this is the articles that I publish. So either you download the BibTeX items from here. Say you go to site, then you can export citation to bib. Then it will prompt you with a file. Then this is the BibTeX item. You just download it into your hard disk. Then you just open it, right? So you can open it using either BibTeX, JabRef, or using the any word editor that you like. So usually what I do is that this is the item that's citing my paper from the journal paper, and I open it with either JabRef or TextWord. I usually use my notepad. So these are the item. This is the item of the paper that I have published with all the details, the name, the title with the label automatically done for me. So in order to keep this item, you just copy, right? Then you just open the bibliography item, then you just paste it. Just paste it into your My Bibliography, save it. Now you have a new bibliography item called 20171111. So now let me try to cite this paper. So I'm going to cite this paper, which I have just freshly downloaded into my bibliography file. So let me call up my working template, which is this one. Where it is? Okay, this is the one. So now I am citing my 2017 paper, which is called Cite, and the reference to it is Go 2017. And if this item is already in existence in the bibliography file called mybibliography.bib, you should be able to print it out. Okay, so it should work. If it doesn't work, then I'll also be in trouble because I'm supposed to demonstrate this successful. So now it looks like it is there or it is not. So I want to citing my 2014 paper, and it's giving me some error, right? So I think this is because it's newly added. So maybe I just have to compile again. So see if it's compiled again, you get the correct item to be displayed. No, it doesn't. So now I'm really in trouble. So again, what I do, I just repeat. Maybe this time I'm correct, right? I'm using site. I'm not using the wrong thing. Yeah, it's a site. 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 I yeah. Go 2000. And this should be correct. So let me repack it. So it seems to be done. Repack again. Give me a warning. Okay, so it doesn't come out to be right. The paper that I have just included, the item that I have just included, which is this file, it has a new item coming in, but it does not appear correct. So I'm going to do again what I have done just now, which may or may not save me from the trouble, is that I'm going to delete the temporarily, where is this? Uh, so I want to call up my my Windows Explorer, and for some reasons it couldn't be called out. So not sure how this could be solved. Okay. Uh, there are so many here. Okay, so this is the one. So I'm going to bip back. No, I think I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this as usual. And hopefully that when I finish deleting it, it should be working. Okay, so I delete the temporary file and compile again. Okay, so it's here. Let's pray it works. Yeah, probably you still have the same problem. Yeah, so I should see 3 reference, but I see only 1. Okay, so the citation doesn't work for some reason, which I do not know why. Um, So I'm sorry that I should not, that I do not successfully reproduce it, but this is the way how you do it, right? So you include articles into the bibliography, and then you should be able to cite it correctly. But I'm not sure whether this is the reasons. I think the bibliography should not discriminate whether it is an capital letter article or a non-capital letter article. Oh, okay. Now I know why this is a problem. I have actually done it correctly, but this bibliography file that I'm editing is sitting in the wrong place. It is sitting in the exercise 5. So I am editing the wrong articles, wrong bibliography file here. Okay, so let me do it again. I think now I found the problem. It is not actually a problem. It's just again my stupid mistake. Yeah. What's the time? It's already over time. Okay, so half an hour to go. This is the most difficult bit. Okay, the referencing is the most difficult bit. The most difficult bit to do. Okay, so I should be editing the bibliography file here. This is the correct file. Just now I was editing the file that's sitting in EX5 folder. Okay, so I opened it with an editor that I use most of the time. Then I just find a place and then paste it here and then copy. Well, maybe you don't need to copy. So this is the correct bibliography file which I have edited. So when I compile the LaTeX, I should be able to get it done. Okay, so I think I'm quite confident, 100% sure that it should work this time. Because there's no reason why you do not find the new bibliography item. Okay, so now it appears to have paper 2 and it appears to have the paper 2 appearing in number 2. So the numbering of the paper appear is based on the sequence I cited. So I cite this paper in the second after the first paper, so it appears number 2. So if you change the sequence of the paper, then the number would also appear, will also adjust itself automatically. So that is a good part of the bibliography. But sometimes it is actually less convenient to cite to create the articles using the way I mentioned to you. So just now I do this by using the Google Scholar, and Google Scholar lend me to the original journal where this paper is cited. But you can have a better way. I think the better way, which I prefer, is to click on this site. Right? You click on this, which is the Google Scholar way to do the citation. It gives you automatically all the citations, right? So you just create big text, then you look at this big text format. This. So these are the big text the big text items for this paper from Google Scholar. Then you just cut and paste here. Then you just paste this item in your bibliography file manually. So that would be much easier. So if you are not following this instruction, and if you insist on going to the journal's webpage, download the site, and then you have the trouble of downloading the file and open this and do a lot of stuff. Okay, so that is just a very simple shortcut of using of how you could construct your bibliography file. So last part that I want to tell you is how to do the formula. The formula is the most important part. Number 7 is on the table. So I think I'll let you to do the number table. We won't have enough time. But the number 6 is the PDF to create formula. So you can create formula very easily. Creating formula is my strong point. Now I can create formula using LaTeX at my fingertips. So I'm quite confident about that, but the rest are not. So let me call out the file that I'm using. So it is my bibliography. Yeah, I think. So this is the last bit. Okay, thank you for your patience with me. So I'm going to create a new sections before this section. This is on formula. Okay, formula. LaTeX it. Okay, so I'm going to write my formula in this file. So again, the formula can be having an inline formula. Inline formula is a formula that appears in the text in the line. So inline for formula, say you just type in this one, say F equals to MA. Right? F equals to MA is just a very complicated formula. The complicated formula would be, say, I'm not sure, let's say new mu equals to something. equals to say submissions for j equals to 0 up to say j equals to infinity for a functions that contains x with a subscript of j. So I actually know what I'm doing when I type this. So it will appears to be a formula that appears like this. So this would tells you, this would appear to be a, let me annotate this. Annotate, okay. So that formula should give you new with a mu equals to a sum of j from 0 to j equals to infinity with a f with a subscript of j with a formula of fx and yeah, not the summation. I think this is not the sum. It should be like this. It should be a discrete sum, not an continuous sum. So that is what I expect when I compile this. So it is a first way of creating a formula in the inline text. So here you have the formula that is displayed here to be like this. So you can create another type of formula using this, like another way of typing of typing formula is to use this method. You include your formula in the slash square bracket and just give me any formula. Well, maybe in integrations of say x from 0 to x to infinity. So you can say the to infinity to be, I think, long arrow. I think it's like this. Long arrow represents an arrow that is long, of course. For x goes to say infinity, infinity, and then you have any symbol that you can think of. Say, for example, gamma, a capital gamma in Greek formula. You could have all sort of things that you can think of, whatever formula you want to have. But anyway, let's just compile this and see what it comes up. It should be, no, there is an error here because I should include the formula in terms of, not sure, I think should be like this, maybe not. Integrate x equals to 0, x long arrow infinity gamma. Now I am not sure what's the problem with this. Maybe there is something that I should not include. Maybe long arrow is not the correct way. Maybe just right arrow. I think long right arrow. Yeah, long right arrow. Not a long arrow, but you should have to include right arrow, left arrow. Okay, so hopefully that this will work. Yeah, it seems like it's working. So you have this long arrow, short arrow. Right. You could have a left, right arrow. You could have stack formula, whatever. So if you refer to the exercise 6, there are many simple examples of how you can typeset your formula. So I'm not going to show all of this one by one, but there are many things that can be done. For example, if you want to create a formula, last time we used to have this like, we need to say in particle physics, we have to say you have a Feynman diagram. So when you do Feynman calculation, you have to this P slash and then have to have a Q slash. So you couldn't really find it. I'm not sure how do you do it in Word. I tried to do it, but I can't. So you have to not put a slash. So a P slash corresponds to the momentum of P mu multiplied with the direct matrix of mu gamma. Right, so in order to write this formula, you can do it very easily. And sometimes you want to say, say for example, x, it would say, sorry, say I think we have this situation of say a quantity momentum, it goes to say to become q, and you want to place something on top of this. Say for example, say x equals to 0. So how do you type that? Then you can actually do this in LaTeX. Maybe I just demonstrate one more time for this kind of exercise. I think I'm going to speed up this very fast because we don't really have a lot of time. Okay, so let me close this one and then go to this LaTeX. Yeah. Okay, so the last formula I want to show you, not let's say the last formula. Now, I'm going to demonstrate that formula I showed you using the begin equation. Begin equations and end equations is the most commonly used way of citing an equations. So you begin, then you slash with the end, then you say I want to have an P with a right arrow, long right arrow, and you can actually stack it. I think you can call it a stack graph. Stack graph means stack relative, and you stack it with two stuff. You stack on top of an right arrow a symbol called x equals to 0. So that would shows you the symbol that I mentioned, long arrow. On top of it is x equals to 0, and p would become, say, q. So when you do that, this is the way to cite an equations similar to citing equations with a square bracket. But the difference is that for the square bracket, the equations is not number, but begin equation. Every begin equation and equation by default would label the numbering, but this one does not label the numbering. So let us compile this. Then you could compare how you do that. So write long arrow. Okay, so I think the arrow is spelled incorrectly. It should have a long right arrow, long right arrow. What is the problem? RIGHT, right arrow. Maybe just right arrow will do. RIGHT, right arrow, infinity. I think that should be correct. Oh, sorry, right arrow, long right arrow. I think this is the correct one. So this is not the issue. I think the issue is this spelling is not done correctly. Long right arrow, long right arrow. Stack relative. Maybe it's a stack relative that, yeah, there should be a K. So it should be a stack relative. Okay, so stack ref seems to be not working. So maybe I should have, yeah, I think this is not a valid command. So not stack relative, I think relative stack. Let's just try again. No, I think this is not. Okay, so I have to refer to the reproduce me number 6 in order to get the things done correctly. Okay, so let me go to my document number 6. Stack ref, STACK. stack long right arrow, STACKREL. I think it's correct, isn't it? Okay, so let's try again. So Tian Hao, can you just help me? STACKREL, right? This is correct. Stack ref, REF, REL, stack rel, right? Stack relative, then long right arrow. So there's nothing wrong with this, isn't it? Okay, so stack ref. Yeah, so I think it's correct. So that's how you do it. So now you have seen that the formula that is produced with begin and end equations, it is labeling the output with an equation number. Then this one is centralized equations without a number. Right, so you can always label the number, label the equation. Say I call this EQ dot dot sample 1. Then you can always cite the number of this reference, say equation number reference with this. Then it will cite the number to be just the equation number 1. Okay, so let us wait for a while. This is equation 1, which comes out from here. I'm citing the reference, which one? Equation number 1. This is coming from this line and is referring to these equations, which is just this one. Right, so when I press on this, it lands me to equation number 1. So you can create numbered equation very easily using the begin equation. But one last thing before I let you go is that if you have complicated equations, say very lengthy equations, you would have to use not equations, but you have to say equations array. So equation array are reserved for equations that is long. Say for example, you have equation that contains 2 lines of equations. So how you do it is that you create one line of equation, then you go to the next line. Then you create another equations, say f equals to ma. And then you want the equations to have overlap with the arrow. This is the arrow, and you want the arrow to be aligned with the equation sign. So what you do is that you have to include it into a string sign between this. Then you have this string sign and string sign. So whatever that is between the string sign, it will be aligned. Right? So when you print this equation array, you open begin equation array, close equation array. Then you have 2 equations, one after another, and it's aligned at the equation symbol and also the arrow symbol. And hopefully that this would not causing an error, so that we can complete and finish the workshop on time. Okay, so now you have this equation to be aligned properly, but this is not what you want sometimes, because this should be considered as a single equation. So you want to only label one number, for this equation. So you have to switch off the numbering for the first equations. So usually that is what you do. You would have to say no number. Then you go to the next line. So the no number refers to the instructions that the first equation should not be numbered. Right? So that's how you can have multiple line of equations, but you just label it with a single number. So no number, where is it? So no number. Okay. So again, no number. You should see that equations 2 number would be replaced by a blank, and the 2 will go to the downstairs. So this is the way how people prepare very complicated equations. I thought I want to give you an example of really complicated equation that I have ever typed in my life, but somehow it doesn't work. If you refer to the documents I gave you, there's one folder. I think it's called the EHM folder. So this one I couldn't get it done properly, but if you refer to this folder properly, not working. I think if you go to the share and you go to the EHM folder, then you look at the files. This is called, not sure where it is. The figure. Now it doesn't appear here. Maybe it is not working. Yeah, probably this is not working. Maybe I should find it from somewhere else. Maybe the old one, storage. Well, maybe not this one. I think it is not here. But you can try to compile the EHM document, but it would not work. This is the most complicated LaTeX I have ever done. So the formula is really complicated, and is usually typed using equation array. Now, the last minute thing I want you to know, which I always have no time to finish, is about thesis, right? So this is the template for PhD thesis used by USM, and you can use this template. Someone from the computer science, they have prepared this template. Then you can just use this template to prepare your PhD thesis if you want to. Where is this? So let me try to open this using my PDF. Yeah, so this is the USM thesis. Now I couldn't show you for some reason. I don't know why. The computer just doesn't follow my instructions. But what I'm going to tell you is that you can use the template that is provided by someone from the School of Physics, from the Com Science. So you just edit the main chapter. I think there's one file called main. Let me see. Usually there's a main file. I think USM thesis. Maybe this is the one. I should refer to the tag file. Then you can use this to prepare your title and your thesis. So everything is there, but we don't really have a lot of time to go through this in detail. Yeah, so this is the main file, right? So in the USM thesis, what you need to do is just you have to include your titles and your what do you call your content. Okay, just a short one. Say for example, in your thesis, you would have to input your chapter, right? So you just prepare a file which contains chapter 1, then you just input chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. So this is a very well structured sample. So I'm not sure if you know how to do it, but it shouldn't be difficult for you to use this template. So it's suffice to say that the template provides you with all you need to use LaTeX to prepare your PhD thesis. Okay, but sometimes you would just want to use Word if you want to, right? Yeah. Now I'm sorry that the class, the workshop appears to be very hectic, and don't have much time for you to ask questions because there are a lot of things that I have to cover. So for those who really want to have a practice, this is my advice to you. That is the exercise. You can do the exercise. Maybe let me make this larger. Just a very simple one. You just prepare a mock document, right? So you just ask to prepare a document using all the content and all the materials that I've given you to prepare a very simple mock document that contains some content that has all these necessary ingredients. So your document should be like this. So let me make this slightly clearer and display it. So just a document that contains the top matter, the title, names, and then create some few subsections, a few sections, subsection. Each of the sections should be labeled. Then you just prepare some body text where the body text will contain some number formula, and then just display that in your text. You perform some kind of symbolic referencing to the subtitle, to the to the sections or subsections or the formulas, and include in your mock text a few figures and table. I have no time to go through it. The tables, inclusion of table could be referred to in exercise 7. And then the most importantly, I think, is the list of bibliography, right? So you create a mock document that has the bibliography file, and then you create some items in the bibliography file. Then you cite the items from your bibliography file and make it appear to be a number citations in the mock data. So that will be a exercise. So when you submit your assignment or your exercise for your mark, just have to submit 2 files. I think the .text file and a bibliography file, because you are going to have this bibliography file together with your LaTeX source code, because your LaTeX source code has to refer to the bibliography file for your bibliography item, right? So that is, but if you want to just submit a single file, it's also possible, where you can just cite or create your bibliography item within the LaTeX using the bibliography file options, or just use my bibliography. So there are 2 ways how you can do the bibliography citations. So this is the exercise I have just prepared for you. Then you send it to the organizer. Then they will give marks to those who are interested to get the CPD point. Okay. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for your time. Any questions? I think I can still handle 1 or 2. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think you can do that arrangement. But if you are using if you are trying to citing the number of referencing 1.1, 1.2 using your own way instead of using the default, it is possible, but you have to do some changes to the preamble, right? So usually for a simple way of preparing thesis, we usually do not do this kind of complicated thing. We just use the default way of doing the numbering. But if you want to customize the way how you number it, yes, it is possible. You have to find the right preamble style file that do that. But if you are following the default, then you don't need to do that. So usually to save the trouble, we just don't do the. So if you're following the standard way, then it will have like section 1, section 1.1, 1.1.1, 1.1.1.1. It will go according to this sequence. So sometimes it would end up to be like 1.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. It happens like that. Yeah, but if you want to have a more elegant way of doing the sectioning, then you have to customize it using some programming style. You can find this sort of way to do it in the online resource. But I do not know how to do it. Okay. Any other thing that I can help you? So okay, final words is that you don't really need me or need anyone to tell you how to do the LaTeX. You just take a template, and just edit it. That's all you need. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so thank you for your attention. It has been a good time to come here to deliver the workshop. So I handle it to the organizer.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Yoon, for the today's lecture, the morning, and also some guiding in the afternoon session. So now let's us proceed to the photo session. So now I like to pass the mic and the floor to the Thomas photo session.
Okay, so hi everyone. Hope you enjoyed the session. Right. So for the photo session, what we'll do is that we'll allow those on joining us online to have about like 5 minutes time to prepare, because you're required to turn on your camera. Well, your cooperation is highly appreciated. And in the meantime, while those joining us online get prepared, we'll have a photo session with those who are joining us physically. So for those joining us online, please hang on for a moment. Thank you very much. Right. So hi everyone. We have already done for the photo session for those who are joining us physically. So we would hope that those who are joining us virtually now can turn on your cameras and we have a photo session right now. So let's see. We have about one slide here only. So please turn on your camera. All right, is that it? I hope that we have more. Okay. So are we ready? So all right, I think right, we still have a few more, right? Okay. So let's see. Okay, so I think everyone is ready. I consider everyone is ready right now. So we have only one slide, fortunately. So okay, I'll just take one slide. 3, 2, 1. Bring our best now. Okay, everyone is so hyped about it. Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the session. I'll pass my time back to Lai.
Okay. Yeah. So now the workshop is nearing the end. So the feedback form will be released both in the Webex chat box and also the WhatsApp group. So or you all can scan the QR code in the slide. So you may submit your assignment in this form. So be reminded that the feedback form will be closed at 13 June. Okay, so we are changing the time. So it's become the 13 June, 11:59 p.m. And this meeting room will be closed at 4:10 p.m. Okay, so I want to thank Dr. Yoon again for his willingness to spend his valuable time to make this workshop happen. And thank you all for your time to attend the LaTeX workshop. I hope you all can learn something from today's workshop. Apologize if there's a mistake made by our team today. So, and I hope I can see you all again at the next event. Bye bye.
Thank you.